what we'll do then, so we're gonna bring, once we get some budget increases, we're gonna bring another thing forward in December. We can do it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Cause mine, it appeared on the powered up, and it just did not seem to catch it.
That's cool.
You should be there for my user.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me see.
You see, y'all use paper, I use technology. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the way I normally do it, so,
I'm tired of this neck brace. I'm taking it off.
Okay.
I'm struggling here, Mr. Jackson, trying to make all this stuff fit.
That's not it anymore.
this right here is what I.
No, ma'am.
This is for me to get email, and then this is for me to get my diligent pay.
Norman's name.
Okay. Let me see. Can I just use this for today? Figure it out. Can we just use this for today?
You can.
But all the stuff is on here.
That's okay. She can do that if she chooses.
Let me see.
I appreciate it. And that's why I
Charging, it's not bad.
They say it's not.
you know, I can do my part. Okay. We got a district to move forward. Exactly. But I appreciate it. Okay.
I think so. It's still twirling.
Can you pull it out?
I don't know about that, but we're fine.
Yeah. Look, I'm on. That's a good. Let's get started. Come on.
That'll be fine. Just perfect. Wonderful. To drink my water, Miss Louise. The time now is 7:12, and we will call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. King, can we get a roll call vote to establish a quorum, please?
Ms. Jackson,
Here.
Dr. May,
Present.
Dr. Coleman,
Present.
Ms. Maura Real,
Present.
Ms. Lane,
Here.
Ms. Williams,
Present.
and Ms. Tisworth.
Present.
Thank you. At this time, our Vice President, if I can see it, will review our norms. Here you go.
Okay, thank you. Having a few technical difficulties, so bear with me. These are the Board of Education's norms. Under item 1, cohesive team. Pause to hear all voices after someone speaks. Consider all opinions. Assume positive intentions. Under 2, collective agreement. Collective voices to reach decisions. Honor and respect the work of the board. Honoring and supporting the board decisions at all times. Under category 3, be prepared for meetings. The board will review the packet details and submit questions within the established time frame. Members of the board will arrive 5 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Administration will release board packets to the Riverview Gardens School Board of Education, within the identified time frame. Item under 4, not allow outside entities to dictate board actions. Number 1, Riverview Gardens Board of Education decisions will be made based on facts, policies, and procedures, not individuals' opinions or requests. And number 2, educate and encourage the community to follow proper protocol for voicing concerns, and that's policy KC, community engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
May I get a second? Second. It's been moved by Dr. Irvine Elliott and second by Ms. Jackson to approve the agenda. Any items to discuss here?
Yeah, you said something about possibly adding something to the agenda.
I'm going to wait.
Thank you, okay. There are no questions.
All right, any further discussion of the agenda? At this time, we'll call for Riverview Excellence.
Good evening, RGSD Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues and community and scholars. For this evening, we have several individuals to recognize for Riverview Excellence. And I'm not sure if everyone is here, but let me call out the names. Asar Miller, an 8th grade scholar at Central Middle School. And Janiyah Wilburn, an 8th grade scholar at Central Middle. And just give them applause. So Asar and Janiyah, again, they're 8th grade scholars here at Central Middle. Both display academic excellence and a zeal for learning. Both are academic leaders and represent Riverview excellence both inside and outside the classroom. They're both members of the highly successful robotics team, and if anybody hasn't come to the Central Middle School robotic events, make sure you do so because they're always wonderful events and you get to see the scholars interacting and creating robots and watching them move. And they lead by example and serve as model citizens as well. So we do have some certificates for Asar and Janiyah, and we'll make sure that they get those. Ms. Cheryl Howard from Central Middle School. So Ms. Howard is a computer literacy instructor. She is involved with computer applications, the robotics team, as I mentioned, robotics club, yearbook, and according to Mrs. Clark, she never ever misses a day of work. So let's give a hand for Miss Cheryl Hopper. And Miss Amber White and any Moline Elementary.
Can we acknowledge our teacher?
Oh, she's here. Oh, okay.
Here.
Sorry. Miss Howard, any words that you'd like to say, Miss Howard?
I was thinking, Ms. Clark said you never miss a day of work, and I'm like, but she's not here? Right. Come on up, we get to get your picture taken. Board members?
Thank you.
Stand to the side.
Sorry, I didn't see her back there. And then Miss Amber White and any Moline Elementary staff that are here. So as many of you may know, so Moline Elementary was recently recognized by Solution Tree as a promising practices professional learning community at work for its success in raising student achievement and working as a PLC. And so actually tomorrow morning, Solution Tree will be at Moline Elementary to officially present the award, but we did want to acknowledge Ms. White and the staff at Moline Elementary for this wonderful acknowledgement. And I believe that they're the only school, did we ever get verification on that? They may be the only school that is a priority school to get the award. There's only like 4 schools in the state that have gotten it, but Moline is most likely the only priority school. So let's give her and the Moline team a round of applause.
I don't have a lot to say. I'll figure out what I'm going to say tomorrow, but I will say it is not an Amber White Award. It is a Moline Elementary Award. Cannot do it without my team. So.
If we can get a photo with the board and our 2 Riverview Excellence winners.
Oh, I gotta get up.
Thank you. All right, and we have one more group that we want to recognize. October is National Principals Month. And so we have a lot of wonderful, amazing principals in the Riverview Garden School District. And so, yep, so give it up. And so I know Ms. Nave has been showering them with gifts, and they have some additional things coming, but we wanted to share this special video with them. If you can start that at the top. And we just wanted to honor our principals, and so we'll make sure each of you get a copy of this video as well. And then all the principals who are here, if you can come up at the end and we'll get another photo with the board.
Does it have sound?
It does.
Okay.
I'm Ms. Lockman, first grade teacher at the Masters Elementary. And to Mr. Brown, I want to say thank you for your exceptional
Then she very calm, she very caring, and she have a good personality.
My name is Sonata X. So Dr. Michael is nice, like a really nice principal, and I hope she's our principal forever to come. Happy National Principal Day. Peace. My name is Paris Willis. I go to Gibson Elementary School in 5th grade. And about Dr. McKendry, she's very kind, she gets stuff done, she's very nice, and she's very good. Happy National Principal Day.
Hi, I'm Dr. Smith. We appreciate you for everything it is that you are doing here at Riverview High School. You are truly the culture that makes this place go every day.
Hi, I'm Judy Shedd. I'm in 11th grade, and I want to give thanks to Dr. Smith, great and awesome principal to us, and helping us when we need something, and just always being there for us when we need it.
My name is EJ, the administrative assistant at the Success Academy, and I want to talk about my superior to her principal, Dr. He is so kind-hearted and so mild-mannered, and he has the best smile ever.
Son, I'm a student in the Success Academy. He always cares and look out for me. And he makes sure I do the right thing and keep my head in my work.
We like when you keep us safe. We love you, Principal Harris.
You have been nothing but yet amazing. We appreciate all that you do, your hard work, your dedication, and your turning this building around.
You've been nothing but great for all teachers and students. Teamwork makes the dream work. Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for everything. We appreciate you.
Everything you do, and keep doing what you're doing.
Hi, my name is Erica, and out of all these districts, you are the best person.
Whoa.
Hi, my name is Vanessa, and we appreciate you so much for being our basic principal. My name is Ms. Johnson, and I want to say thank you for always going above and beyond for your staff and students, and never hesitating to take your cape off if needed. We love you. Thank you.
Hi, we are the 5th grade team at Moline Elementary. We just wanted to tell you that we appreciate you so much. We love you. I want to say I thank you for being our principal because even though I'm in trouble, you let me keep I want to say when we in trouble, we might get irritated, but you still love us. I want to say thank you for helping us achieve goals.
That's cute.
So can our principals who are in the building please stand?
All of our principals, come on up to the front, all the ones that are here. Ms.
Come
Nate,
on
come up
down.
with them, please.
Yes, ma'am. You want us to stand behind or try to get in front? Where you want?
If you can come around.
Forever.
paparazzi shot.
And that concludes Riverview Excellence.
Thank you. At this time, are you going to, Mr. Central, read the press release?
Did you say you'd like me to read the press release, Dr. Coleman? All right. So as I mentioned, Moline will be honored tomorrow for this, and so we sent a press release out to local media, so hopefully we'll have some coverage, but I'll read the story. So Moline Elementary School was recently recognized by Solution Tree as a promising practices professional learning community at work for its initial success in raising student achievement. The school's commitment to implementing the PLC at work process has been a major contributing factor in making a visible positive impact on student learning. PLCs are schools and districts in which educators recognize that the key to improved learning for students is ongoing job-embedded learning for the adults who serve those students. The three big ideas of a PLC call upon educators to, 1, focus on learning, 2, build a collaborative culture, and 3, create a results orientation. Our Trailblazer team is honored to receive this amazing recognition, stated Amber White, principal of Moline Elementary School. It is a testament to the intense focus on our top 2 priorities, teaching and learning at high levels. We are committed to the PLC process and confident that this is just the first celebration for the Moline Elementary Trailblazers, who will continue to increase student learning until all students are performing on grade level or above. Can we get a round of applause for that piece right there? Promising practice schools are recognized for building a strong foundation based on the PLC concepts, implementation of these concepts for at least 1 to 2 years, and clear evidence of improved student learning over that period. Once measurable results can be seen, the school must explain its practices, structures, and culture and submit an application for consideration by the PLC Review Committee. Recognized promising practices schools are listed at allthingsplc.info, where they share their implementation strategies, structures, and performance with other educators interested in improving their schools. Collaborative tools, articles, research, blog posts, and other related resources are also available on the site. The site was developed and is maintained by Solution Tree, a leading provider of educational strategies and tools that improve staff and student performance. For more than 20 years, Solution Tree resources have helped K-12 teachers and administrators create schools where all children succeed.
Thank you. And thank you for reading that, because you know, so often we don't get to hear all the good news. And this was a press release. This is what went out to the public, so I think we can give not only Moline Acres, but Riverview. Thank you so much. At this time, Ms. Demetria, are there any patrons for public comment?
Not at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we are a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Madam Chair, a second.
It's been moved by, who is that?
Ms. Titchworth.
By Ms. Titsworth, and second by Ms. Morrill to approve the consent agenda. Is there any item for, I'm sorry, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Dr. May,
Yes.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Ms. Morrill,
Yes.
Ms. Lane,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Tisworth.
Yes.
Is there any discussion? I'm sorry, say it again. Oh. So, be it that there's no discussion, the consent agenda is, the motion is passed. I'm sorry, I should have said having no further discussion. Where did I go? Now we'll look at this, it's bigger. At this time, announcements from the board. Are there any? Yes, ma'am.
Last board meeting, we discussed the proposals that I would have to vote on, and I wanted to share with the board that the cell phone policy, let me see, what was the first one? The first policy passed as is. The second one passed as is, and the cell phone was amended to strike out restrictions against unauthorized recording of students, faculty, and staff, or personally owned devices was struck out. And so pretty much everything, all the proposal passed. I also wanted to share some of the things that I learned from the training last week with the Senate bill that passed. There will be salary adjustments on the first step, several that have to be adjusted over time, and that could have a positive or negative budget effect because the legislation says that the district shall do this, but the state may fund it. So we can potentially have to institute adjustments in salary and other things without it being supported by funding. So we would have to kind of communicate with our legislators to make sure that they advocate for it being funded. That was one thing that I learned. As far as the board, from the finance department, I did learn that for bond rating, they do watch our board meetings, the board's strengths and dynamics in order to rate us for the bond. In addition to that, it was mentioned that when funds run low, that we have options for short-term loans to make payroll. So these are some of the things that I learned. We went over to, learned about the next phases of the superintendent evaluation. So it was a really good conference. I think every session I attended was pertinent to our responsibility. So I really appreciate going for that training and being more equipped to make decisions.
Thank you. Dr. Mayor, point of clarity, those items that were discussed at the conference pertaining to salaries in Senate Bill 727, those items pertaining to salary will not in any way affect Riverview Gardens nor any other school in the city of St. Louis in North County. Those items pertaining to salary are reserved for school districts whose first-year teachers make $38,000 a year or less. Many of the schools in those rural areas make $36,000, $38,000. Those are the districts that will see an increase in salary. There will be no salary increases in our school districts in any North County school district, in any St. Louis Public School district pertaining to those funds, no, that was not written for us because most districts average somewhere between $42,000 and $45,000 starting salary, so that does not apply to us. So I want to make that very clear. And Dr. Patton, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the part of the mentioning of being able to borrow funds, is that for those schools and those rural districts who have certain number of students in enrollment?
And I can tell you, Dr. Coleman, that I am not sure. I can find out that information. I do know the first part about what you talked about in terms of the starting salary. I do also want to caution that oftentimes when the state is funding us, it's coming from, they will take it from somewhere else, and typically it's transportation. So I do want to say that even though they may fund Senate Bill 727, they will often take it from somewhere else in our budget. So we will see where we end up. I do know that our starting salary is above the starting salary for the schools that they mentioned, Dr. May. Relative to your question, Dr. Coleman, I am not sure, but I can definitely find out.
Thank you. The conference was very interesting. We learned a lot. Before we left at our last meeting, we looked at the proposal items and we decided as a collective unit how we wanted our school district to be represented. And I want to say that for our delegates, the expectation is that you vote the decision of the board. And remember our collective authority that whether you agree or not, it is your responsibility to vote the decision of the board, not to abstain, not to vote against. You don't have to agree, but when we come together as a board, we accept the decision of the board, and we want to remember that. So that we were very fortunate in that these items, they passed by very large margins. But if it had been a case where a one vote would have, then we would not have had the outcome that we had. So let's make sure that our delegates are voting the decision of the board, and that's why we bring the item to discussion. All right? Thank you. Are there any other remarks from the board? Thank you. At this time, we will call for our student representative reports.
Okay, make them feel happy. Give them a round of applause.
Board members, we are presenting the high school report as student representatives for our school.
Starting off with positive things happening at Riverview Gardens High School is the Live School Point System, along with its rewards program. It is currently in progress, limited to Glass Dojo. Live School allows students to earn points that can be redeemed for various rewards. This system also fosters a sense of competition amongst classes, with the juniors currently leading the way. It is a fun and engaging way to encourage positive behavior and participation.
Can you speak a little bit more in the mic?
We recently held an attendance challenge among the different grade levels where the goal was to have the lowest number of tardies, the fewest students caught in hall sweeps, and the highest overall attendance. We're excited to announce that the seniors won this month's challenge. As their prize, they will enjoy a movie night on October 30th after school in the PAC, sponsored by our school's PBIS program.
We want to give a huge shout out to our seniors who have been awarded over $2.5 million in scholarship thus far. This incredible achievement reflects the hard work, dedication, and commitment of their education.
All right, yeah.
Upcoming events, the haunted hallways are still in the works and have been advanced. We are collaborating with our students, organizations, and staff members to make this event special. This event will take place Thursday, October 31st from 4 to 6 p.m. It will be open to the Riverview Garden School District students who are invited to stroll through our uniquely themed decorated hallways and enjoy trick-or-treating.
The Fall in Love with Books fundraiser will be held during parent-teacher conferences. This initiative is organized and sponsored by the National Honor Society, featuring a sale of donated books. It is a wonderful opportunity to support the literacy with finding a great read.
Parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for Wednesday, October 23rd and Thursday, October 24th. This year, conferences will be held virtually up until 4 p.m. to provide greater flexibility to parents of the high school. This initiative aims to enhance parental involvement and engagement in their children's education.
We are working on establishing a student council at the Success Academy. This initiative aims to promote unity amongst the schools and help prevent students from feeling disconnected from the high school community.
The Student Council will provide a platform for the students to voice their opinions, participate in decision-making, and engage in activities that fosters a sense of belonging and collaboration.
Moving on to student expectation. This year, good attendance has been an all-time high. We want to recognize the effort of our teachers and administrative staff who are motivating us to maintain the positive trend. To support this goal, hall sweeps are conducted to minimize students remaining and lingering in the hallways during class time.
Additionally, there are initiatives in place to students, incentives, in place for students who are following rules and making the most out of their class time. The live school reward system plays a key role in this initiative, encouraging students to stay engaged and focused on their education. Doing so will earn them points, and they can cash these in for a variety of prizes.
Rams Pride has been in place and talked about during school advisory periods. Rams Pride stands for perseverance, respect for all, integrity, discipline, and engagement, which is recited on the morning and afternoon announcements daily.
We are also a Fight Free campus, and posters are along the hallways in our school with resources students can use when they find themselves faced with conflict.
Thank you, and this concludes our announcements.
Can you all introduce yourselves? Let us know who you are.
Oh, go ahead.
I am Keyshawn Word.
And I am Jewel Minner.
Thank you, Keisha.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to comment to them that I think that that's beautiful that you are incorporating Success Academy students into, I want to just commend you all for doing that and commend your principal. I don't see him, but commend your principal as well.
Excellent. Thank you. At this time, we will have our superintendent report.
Okay, oh, this one works, okay. I do want to acknowledge, first of all, you all did such a great job. Thank you, and thank you for being here. I know it's hard for you all to come out on Tuesday night, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you. I also want to, here you go, Mr. Berry, thank you. I also want to acknowledge the administrators of this building, Ms. Rachel Clark, Mr. Darnell Marshall, Ms. Lynette Swift-Elliott, and Mr. Rashawn McKinley. Can you all stand up so we can see who you are? These are the administrators of this building. And they come dressed like that every single day. I just wanted to acknowledge you all. Thank you for being here. Okay, I do have a couple of announcements. Our STAR data results are in, and I want to let everyone know that when Dr. Hunter presented this today, or actually yesterday in our DLT meeting, and she said the following: we have more students in proficient and advanced than we did last year, and more of our students are scoring higher on the STAR assessment. So let's give our students a round of applause. We've got work to do, and they are doing the work. So thank you, thank you, thank you to the teachers and to our scholars. We do have an upcoming community walk on November the 9th. The community walks is just our way of knocking on the doors of our families, saying good morning, just introducing ourselves, just building those relationships. So if you all can come out, meet us at Central Services on Saturday, November 9th from 11 to 1, I think I said 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. No, it's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., so just for a couple of hours, and it's just our way of introducing ourselves to our families. We are also planning a staff gathering that will be coming soon within the next month or so. LBF, Little Bit Foundation, held their What's Next fair I think it was last week, and we had great attendance of our students and our community. So that's an opportunity for our students, and Little Bit Foundation has been doing the What Next fair, which allows students to plan for their future. And so it was very well attended. So thank you to our partners at Little Bit Foundation. They are also having a fundraising gala on November the 1st, this is where they take in all of the funds that assist them in helping the school districts that they have. So give Little Bit Foundation a round of applause. They often help us, as well as Soul Fishers. Soul Fishers helps us a lot. They had their gala this past Friday, and several of our students were able to attend due to a donation that was made on their behalf. So thank you to Soul Fishers and the person who made the donation. Thank you very much. And I understand one of our students, Kaylee Woodson, spoke. Kylie Woodson. Amber, louder. Khalid Woodson, okay. He spoke at the event, and my understanding is that he did a great job. So hats off to that student. Also, we are beginning our college tour. So some of our students visited Rankin Technical College today. They've been to Flo Valley, and they will be visiting colleges over the next few months. So we have started our college tours already. Our Father's Walks have been very successful, and if you haven't been there, we have two more. We have one this week at Westview, actually tomorrow at Westview and Central from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Come on out and support these fathers. They show up, they're with their babies. It is a beautiful sight to see. And then our last one will be next week at the high school. So hats off to the fathers who are showing up for their children every single day. Hats off to them. And our student members took some of my announcements. I was going to talk about the scholarship. They stole that sunshine. I was going to talk about the haunted houses that we're having at the high school. They stole that. Were you all looking at my notes? Okay. And then, so the last two announcements is our football team have their last game this Saturday at 11. So come on out and support our football team at the high school. And then the girls volleyball team is in district, so they are ending their season as well. And that concludes the superintendent's announcements.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to call for Central Middle School and their presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, our first item up for information is a data presentation from Central Middle School. This is being presented by Ms. Barbara Sharp, the Executive Director of Continuous Improvement, as well as Ms. Rachel Clark, the Principal of Central Middle School. And this is in conjunction with Policy IA, Instructional Goals, Priorities, and then IGAB, Instructional Interventions. Ms. Sharp and Ms. Clark.
Good evening to the Board of Education, Superintendent Patton, colleagues, and members of the community. In keeping with the student performance goals of the Riverview Garden School District and school improvement guidelines as identified by the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, as well as the collective work with Solution Tree and the district, we are here to present evidence of student performance for this current school year. Tonight, Principal Rachel Clark, the proud principal of Central Middle School, will provide a school-based data presentation to this learning community. This presentation is for information, and it will focus on student attendance, student performance, specifically in the area of mathematics. It will also review trend data in several content areas, as well as celebrations as identified by this wonderful school leader. At the end of the presentation, Ms. Clark will respond to any questions that you may have. At this time, please receive Principal Clark.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Patton, colleagues and community. My name is Rachel Clark, and again, I would like to acknowledge my administrative team. On behalf of the entire administrative team, faculty, staff, and student body of Central Middle School, we welcome you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
This evening's presentation the topics for this presentation are attendance, mathematics performance, map comparison, and then data-driven celebrations. In the attendance charts, we have two sets of data. We have ADA, or average daily attendance. Average daily attendance is simply the performance or the total percentage of scholars who are in school each day. And we, our district calculates that for a month. And then we also have 90 attendance, which depicts that 90% of the scholars, or which 90% of the scholars are here 90% of the time. So if you look at the charts, and for the 2023-24 school year, you'll see that for August, September, and October, those averages for 90, and ADA are slightly higher. So once my team, the attendance task force, and my team got together to figure out what we could do to help improve our attendance averages, specifically 90, because that's where we get our points for annual performance. One of the things we did was look at the fact and to determine exactly which scholars were in 90, so or better. So we have 249 of our 593 scholars that are currently sitting in the 90 or better % range. In addition to that, there are 41 scholars that are right below that. So we determined from the data which scholars have between 1 and 10 days in order to achieve 90% attendance. So we've spoken to those scholars and their parents as well. We went a step further and looked at the category from 85% to 87.9%, and there are 45 of those scholars who need at least 11 to 20 days to achieve 90% attendance. And at this early stage, it is not too late for them to do so. Again, we have communicated that with our parents and with our scholars. Today we did celebrate our scholars who have 90% attendance. We want to continue to celebrate and make sure that they are continuing to come to school. One other thing that we've communicated is if a scholar missed the first 2 weeks of school, they already have a deficiency and cannot miss more than 5 more days. So we tell scholars, just as we have sick days as adults, they have 17 sick days, and after on the 18th day, they no longer qualify for 90% attendance. Math performance data, and so the first 2 charts are from the previous school year, 2023-24. I'm going to specifically look at 6th grade because I'm going to cohort down to 7th grade. So if you look at the beginning of the year, the first chart to the left, you'll notice that 89% of our scholars were performing in the below basic category, and that is a huge number, with only 1% in proficiency and 0 in advanced. That was alarming to us, as it should have been. So we inserted a few different interventions, but we were not able to reach enough of our scholars with those interventions last year. If you move to the 24-25 of the current school year, those numbers for the 7th grade column, you'll notice that there is a slight decrease in the number of scholars who performed in below basic. That kind of told us that there was little learning loss for summer because the exam that they took was based on some of the current grade level, but then they also inserted some of last year's content as well. We also had a few extra scholars because those percentages look really low, but that does kind of add up for our student body to about 14 scholars that are performing in proficiency. Still not enough, and we do know that. So my guiding coalition, and we are sitting and trying to figure out exactly which interventions we can insert for our scholars. So we're tiering the tier. Because so many of our scholars perform in the below basic category, so we're even tiering that into 4 sections. So the interventions will be based on their actual needs. So we're gonna tier 2 our entire student body in the areas of ELA and math. So we're working to see how that can look, so that we're doing it with we're performing these interventions with fidelity, and also we're making the highest gains for our scholars. And we also want to build their confidence. We also know that stamina is a big reason why our scholars are not performing well. So we're building stamina, and especially in those scholars who are already there, because we do have scholars that are well above grade level. So we don't want to lose them, so we're providing extension for them. This slide is a map data presentation slide, and if you look at 2022, these are 6th grade scholars. 23, this is the same scholars in 7th grade, and 24, these same scholars in 8th grade. So if you specifically look at the MPI column, you'll notice when they were in 6th grade, the MPI was significantly lower for ELA than it was in 8th grade. What we have learned is the longer they stay here, the better they perform. Again, still not where we need to be, and we acknowledge that, and we are working to insert what we need to help our scholars get to the next level. Also, you'll see that once they reached 8th grade, more scholars were performing in the 2 higher proficiency levels. So some of the things that we're doing working, but not to the intensity that we need to see. And for math, you'll see the same thing. But in that 7th grade year for math, we had in the entire building 2 certified math teachers, and that stretched across 3 grade spans. So that's what represents the dip that you see for 7th grade math. Celebrations, the number of certified staff has increased from 19 to 28. This is it. And we know that that's going to be a great factor that's going to help us move our scholars as well. Our teachers are working so hard. The instructional staff is working extremely hard. Bell-to-bell instruction, increased sizes, or increased time in each of our periods. So our scholars are getting more grade level work. Our enrollment, 472 scholars that are currently enrolled are scholars that were in Riverview Gardens last year. And so that's also a bonus. For mathematics, math performance index increased from 247.3 to 253. The total growth for fall 2004 STAR versus the previous year is 65%. So although our scholars are we're not moving them completely out of below basic, they're moving up. So if we can move them up at a more aggressive rate, we're going to see more scholars going to basic and then proficient. ELA, the same thing. The MAP index increased from 302 to 319. And then the total growth for fall STAR was 65.7%. So again, we're seeing them grow, but not exponentially. I would like to say also that we do have processes in place, I've stated that before, to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our scholars, because our STAR assessment gives us everything that they need in the areas that they're deficient. So it gives us a prescription for our scholars. We have to monitor it, and we have to make certain that we're using the data for the right reason. And I honestly feel we have the right team here. We're digging deep. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I'm curious with any data that you have with your teacher observations, is it showing that the teachers are implementing the curriculum with fidelity, or is there some areas of growth with that that might impact the student performance?
So during observations, one of the first things we focused on for the month of September was to look for just a teacher is not telling the scholars what it is they're supposed to be able to do at the end of that lesson or that unit, that's already going to diminish the chances of growth. With curriculum, we do have several new books in our content, and some of them are so much harder than some of our scholars can, especially the reproducibles for math. Some of the content in those books are really difficult, so teachers are having to try and reteach the skills to bring them up and not go all the way back, of course, to elementary school, because if we don't teach them on grade level, we're going to continue to not grow.
Do you offer any type of double dosing type of class for kids for remediation?
We do. So we have Read 180 and System 44. System 44, well, that's the old name, but they, our reading specialists have those scholars in their classes, and those scholars are specific, even their reading success plans. Phonemic awareness is a big, it's a huge number of the scholars that are enrolled in that double dose, and just phonics as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ms. Clark, you said you went from certified staff 19 to 28. How many long-term subs do you have in the building?
7.
Okay, thank you.
And most of them are in elective classes.
Thank you. Okay.
They're important too, though.
They are important, absolutely. And the growth that I've seen is you're getting there, and so just keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing. Good job.
We got work.
We got work to do.
Any more questions? Thank you.
I also wanted to add that with the work with, we are really working hard as a district. We are very focused in our work. And so working in collaboration with the Curriculum Instruction Department, working with leadership and accountability, as well as the Office of Continuous Improvement, we're really working to make sure that we are a seamless unit. The board, you were very generous in approving some additional days for content specialists to come into the district. So we have additional days in which we have ELA as well as math specialists that come in working with us from Solution Tree. Once that work begins, then the Curriculum and Instruction Department, they began to formulate a plan of how they're going to go in to provide additional supports. It varies from school to school, but we are really working in a seamless manner to make sure that we are addressing the needs of our scholars. It requires a lot of collaboration, and so as we are engaged in the various tasks, constant communication with principals to make sure we're meeting the needs of principals, and it's just, it's a process. So I wanted to acknowledge that as well. Thank you.
Ms. Sharp, so in those schools like Central, is there both an instructional coach for math and English, or only one subject? What is?
Is your question about with
Instructional
Solution Tree,
coaches.
the instructional coaches? Mm-hmm. It varies from school to school. Some schools have, at least on the elementary level, one instructional coach. The high school is fortunate to have instructional coaches, but the middle schools are struggling. And so that is an area where we continue to work. And so that's why it's important for us to pool our resources together to make sure that we're meeting the needs as much as we possibly can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do they have an instructional coach for both math and ELA for the middle schools?
No. At this point in Central, there is a math coach She's doing double dose. She is superb, Coach. She's here. Where are you? Dr. Seals. We got to get these testimonies out here. So she's doing a marvelous job. She is the type of person when there is a need, she just does it. She just does it. So, but then at Westview, there is a struggle there in terms of a coach, and that's when the curriculum and instruction part step in and provide support. So when I tell you that we are constantly meeting, we're talking about where there's a need, not to overwhelm schools, but trying to find out how we can provide the best support, and then constantly communicating with Mrs. Nave, because she has a very good sense of the pulse of what's going on in schools as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Sharp and Mrs. Clark. Good job. And the Central Math coach back there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, moving to our next item for information. This is the 2023-24 Transportation Year in Review. Making this presentation is our interim CFO, Mr. Randall Charles, and this is in conjunction with Policy EEA, Student Transportation Services. Mr. Charles? Is Shanika here? No? Okay. Oh, okay, come on up, come on up. Okay.
Yeah, right before Shanika comes up, a couple of things. As you're aware, the transportation services here at the school district are provided by First Student. We contract with them. They provide the drivers, the management, and so on. The buses, most of the buses are owned by First Student. There's still maybe a half dozen or so that remain from the old fleet that the school district owned. But we transport, I'm going to have to double check my count, but I think roughly 2,800 kids each day. And we know that if you just look at the home to school routes, the state reimburses about 75% of our home to school route costs. They look at what we spent last year and they reimburse us 75% of that. We hope they continue to do that in the future. But as Dr. Patton said, when the state starts making budget cuts down the line, that's one of the first line items to get hit. But at this point, I'll turn it over to Shanika Butler. Shanika is our transportation director with First Student.
Okay, we'll switch this out.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Superintendent Patton, community. My name is Shanika Butler. I am here on behalf of First Student. As you all know, we do provide the home to school transportation for Riverview Garden School District. So I have a small agenda. I'm going to keep it brief, but I'll first go over First Student's mission and values, our year in review, and then I'll go over the current services that we're providing. I'll review our community and district involvement, new technology, future planning, and then I'll leave some room for questions if anybody has any. First Student's mission is to provide the unmatched care and the safest ride to school. So when students arrive, they've started their day with an exceptional experience and are ready to achieve their full potential. We do have 5 core values that we focus on. Number 1 being our focus on safety. Safety is at the heart of everything that we do. 2 is our care for our students. We do this by ensuring that our vehicles are welcoming and trusted places where students feel comfortable and secure. 3, by surpassing customer expectations, by going the extra mile to deliver an extraordinary experience for our customers and our communities. We foster teamwork by working together, acting with integrity, respecting each other, championing diversity and inclusion. Last, by setting the highest standards. We continually seek a better way to do things with innovation, sustainable practices, financial discipline, commercial excellence, and operational excellence. So the 2023-24 school year in review, we do
We had 26 daily home-to-school routes, 5 routes servicing our students in transition. We integrated one route to support the STAMP program, which is the program where scholars at Riverview Gardens High School are mentoring in various elementary schools in the district. We provide transportation for those students who are dually enrolled at Flow Valley, and that runs every day. And last year, we also incorporated a route for the English language immersion program, which allows those students who are learning, English language. And this year, we've actually added 2 additional routes to support the 2 sessions at the Success Academy. So we're able to provide those students with a way to get those services there. As far as driver staffing, we did sustain adequate staffing to fulfill daily home-to-school transportation needs, so there was no driver shortage. There were other districts who faced those challenges, but fortunately, we were not impacted or affected by that at all. We did make accommodations to distance guidelines so that we were able to provide transportation services to scholars who resided less than a mile from school, from their home school, with, of course, district's approval. Again, like I said, we did include additional routes for language immersion programs outside of those school boundaries. So if a student who's in that program, if it's at Westview and they live in Central, then that's where those buses would be able to provide their transportation so that they could get access to those services in that school. And we also replaced some of the aged fleet. We replaced 6 buses, so you all have 6 brand new school buses on the road this school year. And we actually just cascaded to add 2 additional buses coming, I believe, in February or March of this year. So you'll have 8 buses by the end of the school year that are brand new. We increased our driver labor. They were making $26 last year, but they are currently making $27 as of now. So that helps us to retain our drivers. So that's a great incentive. Community and district involvement, we do partner very closely with the Soul Fisher Ministries Latchkey program, and we provide the transportation, and that's curb-to-curb transportation for scholars attending Westview Middle, Danforth, LeMasters, Coke, Meadow, and Moline Elementary. Weekend shuttles were provided to the district for canvassing and districts for Prop S support last year. Transportation support was also provided to schools for on-site vaccination and health clinics that allow scholars to meet enrollment criteria. And we provided shuttles for Riverview Gardens' annual back-to-school bash, and we're also a yearly vendor sponsor. As far as our technology, we do want to reintroduce First View to the district. So it's broken into 2 parts. The first part is District View, and it gives the district access to the transportation system in an easy-to-use web-based portal. It helps manage daily communication and gathers accurate system-wide transportation data for administrative and level-making decision. The district will be able to track buses. It has messaging incorporated, so they're able to put out district-wide alerts to families. Visibility, where they're able to see the buses physically on a map. And then there's a security layer where student data is transferred directly over from Riverview's student information systems. The second part of that technology is Parent View, and that app allows, it gives parents direct access to the status of their child's bus, so they don't have to constantly call the dispatch office where it can be hard to get through, at certain times of the day. So rather than doing that, they can just go into the app and just see where the bus is, and they can check for alerts that may have gone out. And they can decide, like I said, whether the best time to meet the bus at the stop, get detailed delay notifications, and it just keeps those parents informed and connected. It is a free app that they can download. I won't go over all this, but it's an app that they can download. It is totally free. We'll be working, if we roll it out, then we'll provide each school with the training materials and information so they can get the information out to the parents. Again, the Parent View tracking, Again, instead of relying on route data for tracking, it simply tracks the bus on the maps, allows users to set up and customize geofences around their child's pickup and drop-off location to be alerted when the bus is closed. It's really simple, and again, after creating an account, entering their student's ID, they can just follow these simple steps. Future plans for First Student and Riverview Gardens. We do have tablets coming in December. The tablets installed are coming, and it's gonna be installed in each bus, and it's gonna be turn-by-turn directions, so they're not relying on paper, with just, improving the technology there. And it also is gonna be integrated to improve vehicle and safety compliance. We're also working with the district, Carl, to complete phase 1 of the garage lot pavement, and we were discussing getting an extra gate at the facility to increase the security there. And then we're just going to continue to work with the district to replace the fleet that's aging out. That's all I have for data. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. My question is around, how do you all bill when it comes to adding a route? What is that process? Like just adding a route, does that increase the expense, or there's some process you use to determine what that might be?
When it comes to adding a route, we would see what the specific need may be from the district. So if there may be a large amount of students who are being affected, for instance, when we added routes last year, it was because we had schools where attendance was a big deal. So students weren't coming to school. So once it starts, so we'll work directly with those school leaders to determine what we can do to help. So it kind of can be a case-by-case thing, but we're usually pretty receptive and open to adding routes, especially when it's affecting a large group of students, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
And the cost of our contract with First Student is that we pay roughly, I can round it off, but about $350 per day per route. So to add a route is about $350 a day. That counts for the bus and the driver.
Am I correct that although it may be costly to add a route, however, if there is a student and the bus stops at a particular place and that student is not on that, if that student goes to that stop, then it doesn't cost us, it's not like we're adding a route. It's just like if the student's in her house and they walk down to the bus stop and they get on the bus, they get the ride, but we're not paying extra for it. Is that correct?
Correct. And what we've been really good about, we're not going to turn the student away. If they're at the stop and they're needing a ride to school, our drivers have pretty much all been on the same page. If there's a student there and they need a ride and they're going where you're going, we're not going to turn anybody away. So.
I do have a comment.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. It was so nice to see the part for parents where they have the app and the geofencing and all of that. I love that.
All right, thank you.
Shanika, can you work with Ishmael so that he can publish that information to our community? That would be helpful. And thank you, Ms. Shanika. Good job.
All right,
Good job. Mr. Charles, can you speak to the students as they get on the bus and how the state funds transportation for us in that way?
Right. The state, in terms of funding, they describe students who ride the bus as either eligible riders or ineligible riders. Those are the official terms. State law requires us to transport kids who live more than 3 miles from school. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think that we're required to transport all these kids. We are not. We're only required to transport kids who live more than 3 miles from school. We can, by choice, as we do, transport students who live more than 1 mile from school. And if we do, the state will reimburse 75% of the costs for transporting those eligible riders. Any students who live less than 1 mile from school, the state calls them ineligible riders. For us to transport them, what DESE tells us is that if they can make their way to an existing stop and get on, they're still an ineligible rider, but we won't reduce your funding. But if we were to create additional routes, or we added additional stops to an existing route, that ineligible rider would work against us in their complicated calculation. It actually would decrease our funding. So in essence, what the state tells us is this: if a kid lives more than 3 miles from school, you have to transport them. If they live between 1 and 3, you can choose to transport them. If they live less than 1 mile, essentially, it's the parent's responsibility to decide how to safely get the student to school.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. You may as well stay there. I think you're up next for discussion items.
Right, there's a lot of information on this discussion item, the routes. Every year, the school board is required to approve the bus routes. We usually wait till about this time of year to let all the routes settle as kids move in and get on the bus. So you have in the packet a big, long list of routes. We will bring those back to you for approval at the next board meeting. I will note, I believe there are 25 of your typical home-to-school routes. There are 5 routes for students in transition within the district, and 1 route for English language learners to access the ELL program at one of our schools. So again, we will be bringing those routes back to you at the next meeting for approval.
Are there any questions? Okay. Moving to our next item up for discussion, it is the budget revision. Mr. Charles, you may as well come back to the mic. This is being presented by our interim CFO, Randall Charles, and this is in conjunction with Policy DB, Annual Budget, and Policy DIAA fund balances. Mr. Charles.
Right, we talked briefly about the budget at the last board, or no, 2 board meetings ago, I guess it was. As we're aware, the board approved the annual budget back in June, as required by law to do. Since that time, we've discovered additional information that necessitates some pretty significant changes to the budget. We'd like to bring you this budget revision, which is a more accurate reflection of everything we know as of today. When we incorporate all of those things, just to hit the highlights, we'll actually see a reduction in the amount of revenue we anticipate receiving this year, reduction of roughly about $6.8 million. Most of that change is in the area of the state basic formula and in the amount that we expect to receive for current and delinquent taxes. On the expenditure side, one of the big changes we made with this, or will be making with this revision, is the inclusion of all the Prop S expenditures that Carl and his staff will be managing throughout the course of the year. That's roughly about $13 million. Adding those into the budget does not impact the fiscal health of the district. It's just a matter, we feel it's wise to capture those within this revised budget. So we have, again, an up-to-date and accurate reflection. But in addition to that, we have identified some additional expenditures in the area of salaries that weren't captured in the original budget. And all said and done, moving down, I guess it's where I have net impact, I want to really ask you to focus on where it says it has the 4 funds and net impact. Look at general fund. Remember, we talked last month about the 4 funds, and the 2 that we really need to watch are the general fund and the teachers fund, because that's how we operate from day to day, is on those monies. We finished last year with roughly $30 million in that general fund, and our original budget would have anticipated us finishing this year at about $31 million. But with the new information, it appears we're going to be spending down that balance quite a bit if we don't make any changes. But based upon what we know right now, we could end up spending that fund balance from 31 million down to about 16 in just this 1 year. Now, we aren't going to let that happen. That's a picture of what would happen if we maintain our current course, stick our heads in the sand, and ignore the problem. Dr. Patton has been very aggressive in meeting with department leaders, building principals. We actually met with, two already today, and Dr. Nave was part of it as well. And we're going to continue meeting with more tomorrow, meeting with our building principals and looking for opportunities to reduce expenditures immediately. And then as soon as we finish that, we're going to bring a second budget revision to you. I believe our goal is in December, so that we can show you what improvements we've made to the budget. And then we will also start drafting next year's budget as early as January, beginning making reductions and so on. But this budget revision is just that. We mentioned it to you last month, and we're bringing it to you again and asking you to approve this budget revision, subject to any questions you may have.
Yes, I shared with the superintendent that from the training that I attended at the conference, we were discussing some of the changes that we will be experiencing and realized that the budget message was omitted when we approved it the first time. And so it was stated, since we were making an amendment, that it could be included because it would be an audit finding. That was from DESE. So what is your understanding about that, and what can we do to include that and be in compliance even with our policy?
Right. There is a Missouri statute that outlines specific components that must be in the annual budget. A budget message is part of that. I think past couple of years actuals and even some future numbers have to be in there. So what I'm planning to do, and again, thanks for that question today, what I will do when I bring the revision to you in December, I will include all of that. So one, it'll put us better in compliance, but also will give you kind of a preview of what the FY26 budget is going to look like in terms of format when we bring that one to you next June.
Another thing that was mentioned was some type of calculation that shows, I guess just like when you have your own budget, how many months you can sustain, you know, do we have some type of calculation that reflects, like,
right.
you know? Yeah.
You'll hear me talk about end of the year operating fund balance.
Okay.
Listen for those terms at every meeting. And matter of fact, in our presentation here, I had put that our end of the year operating fund balance is going to be, right now we're guessing right about, or estimating right about 19%. What that means, we have enough money that if we, at the end of this year, if we never received another penny next year, we could operate about 19% of the year before we run out of money. So end of the year operating fund balance. And I speak to that number every time I stand in front of you.
And with the impact that we currently have, would we have to go into our reserves at all?
No, we will be spending the fund balance down. And to speak to a question you had earlier about those short-term loans, what those are referred to, they're called tax anticipation notes,
yes.
TANs. Some school districts are very heavily reliant on local property taxes. Best example in this area is Kirkwood. Kirkwood gets almost no money from the state, and they get almost all of their money from local taxes. Well, people don't start paying their taxes till December. So you have to have enough money to get by from July, August, September, October, November, until your tax revenue starts coming in late December. If school districts have a low fund balance and they're beginning to run short late November, December, they can go to their bank, sign a note, issue a tax anticipation note, got to pay interest on it, and then as soon as your tax revenue comes in late December, you pay it off. I had to do that once in another school district I worked in.
Yeah, that was exactly what she shared.
There you go. But we do not have to do that. We're okay.
Thank you.
So, President, I have a couple of questions regarding this fund balance. When we went to training, I signed up for everything that had to do with the money, okay? So back to the basics of a district budget was one of the courses I took. And the fund balance that you're talking about, where we're at 19%, isn't there there's a floor that we can't go below,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, at the state level, it's pretty low, it's 3%. Any school district that ends the year with a fund balance below 3% is put on what they call the distressed list. But we have a policy, the board policy here in Riverview, that says we want to maintain a 15% fund balance.
So that's the district's
That's
policy.
a district's policy,
We
yes.
have an option to make of increasing or decreasing that, or how does that work? Does that,
Yeah, the board can always change policy, it could, but right now, the policy on the books is that we'll target maintaining 15%, and I believe the policy even says that if it ever drops below 15%, there's certain actions required of the superintendent and the CFO. You have to develop a plan and present it and so on. I'll try to find that policy tomorrow, and with Dr. Patton's assistance, share that with all of you.
so the other question I had was regarding the teachers fund. Maybe I'm not reading it correctly, but I'm looking under your budget summary. I'm not sure what page it's on.
Okay, it's okay, go ahead.
And I'm looking at the number for fiscal year '24, the actual versus budget fiscal year '25. No, versus revised 10/22/24. So
Okay.
those numbers look real different.
They are very different, and it's primarily due to a reduction in the amount of revenue that we spend. Remember, I said one of the big numbers on the revenue side was a reduction in state formula. 75% of the state formula has to go into the teachers fund. So 75% of that discrepancy is having a negative impact on our teachers fund. In addition to that, there were some salaries that were not captured in our original budget. So not only is our revenue lower, our expenditures in the revised budget are higher. You put those two numbers together, and it's a pretty significant change.
It was a big change.
Yes. You are very astute.
Ms. Williams? Okay. So, Mr. Charles, I just want to be clear. So for 24-25, the projected fund balance was 40.68, and now the projected fund balance is 18.97%?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, so the, on page 2 where it doesn't have, under the teacher fund, that 0 is representative of what it should be, or?
The end of the year balance at 0?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens in the teachers fund, by law, once you put money in the teachers fund, you cannot take it out. So what school districts throughout Missouri will do is they will underfund the teachers fund throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, transfer money to bring it back up to 0. So it's very common practice to end the year with a 0 balance in the teachers fund.
My other question was, since we're in our audit process now, what impact would doing the budget message have on the process now, if you do it later?
None, because the audit is looking at FY '24, the 23-24 school year. The budget message you're referring to was for the 24-25 school year.
So it may
So
show up later?
we'll get it fixed in December,
Okay.
as we discussed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I do want to clarify that this is if we do nothing. So we will bring forth a budget reduction plan for our district. Also, I do want to make it clear that this was just The revisions were necessary to reflect what is true, and there is no money missing from Riverview Garden School District. I want to make that very clear because that has been brought to my attention. The projections just needed to be corrected. And again, if we do nothing, this will be true, but I will bring a budget reduction plan to the board next month. Any other questions?
And we will be asking you to approve this budget revision at the end of the meeting.
This one.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Now I've got to see where I was. Hold on one second.
Revised assessment calendar.
Okay, the next item, thank you, Dr. Coleman. The next item up for discussion is the revised assessment calendar, the 2024-25 revised assessment calendar. Making this presentation is Dr. Tiffany Hunter, Director of Assessments, and this is in conjunction with Policy IL1, Assessment Programs, and ILA, Test Integrity and Security. Dr. Hunter?
They're coming.
Good evening, Riverview Garden School Board, Dr. Tanya Patton, colleagues, and community. At the August 27th board meeting, the Riverview Garden School Board, you all approved the assessment handbook and calendar. Since then, DESE has released the end of course dates. End of course are the tests that our high school scholars take. They take it in the area of biology, Algebra 1, English 2, and government. And so I'm bringing the assessment calendar and handbook back to you to represent those release dates as well as updates to our ASVAB assessment. There was a situation with the vendor, and so they changed the dates, and so I wanted to make sure that our calendar reflect those dates. And it's recommended that you approve this calendar at the next board meeting. Are there any questions at this time? Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Dr. Hunter. Our next item up for information, is this the item up for information or discussion? Item up for discussion is policy recommendations. Making this presentation is Jennifer Williams, Human Resource Manager, and this is in conjunction with Policy CH, Implementation and Dissemination of Policies, and BF, School Board Policy Process. Ms. Williams.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, community, and colleagues. Tonight I will be presenting 7 policies. Policy ILA is Test Integrity and Security. This policy outlines how the district will ensure test integrity and security. The district test coordinator should perform the duties outlined in the most recent version of the Guide to the Missouri Assessment Program that is published by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Staff will follow the requirements of the applicable testing manual. It is recommended that the district accept the revisions as proposed by MSBA. Policy DFI-2 is setting tuition for district programs. And this policy is being updated in accordance to House Bill 447, and it will allow Riverview Garden School District to bill resident school districts for the tuition of non-resident students placed in psychiatric facilities within the district. The district currently does not have any psychiatric facilities within the district, so we are recommending to decline this policy change by MSBA. The next policy is policy FFA, Memorials on Facilities and Grounds. MSBA is recommending that we rescind this policy because all of the relevant content has been integrated into policy KH. So we are asking to rescind this policy as recommended by MSBA. Policy IND, ceremonies and observances. This is in accordance to Senate Bill 139. The changes are to rename the first week of March as STEM Week, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. We are recommending that the district accept the changes to the name of the first week of March to STEM. Policy JFCI-2 is student alcohol and drug testing. There have been 2 versions to this policy. Version 2 focus on allowing administrators to conduct reasonable suspicion-based testing and random drug testing for students in grades 9 through 12 participating in extracurricular activities governed by the Missouri State High School Activities Association. This policy also addresses the handling of students with valid medical marijuana cards, stating that they can still be disciplined if they attend school under the influence. At this time, we're asking that the board or the district reject this policy as well. We know that there will be other versions of the policy coming out, and we will look at those versions for equitability and how it affects our students and community. The next policy is policy JEC-1, school admissions. MSBA is recommending that we update this policy in accordance to Senate Bill 40, requiring certain adult students who are not part of the K-12 state aid count to undergo a background check when enrolling in courses held on school property, during school hours, and with K-12 students. This will be a Missouri Highway Patrol background check for open record search. The individuals will be responsible for paying for these background checks, the enrollees. Adult students convicted of specific crimes such as those listed in section 168.071.6 or denied enrollment, and we're asking that the district accepts this policy in preparation of adult education programs, and so it would be in good interest to have this policy in place. And the last policy is policy KH, public gifts to the schools. MSBA is recommending we update this policy to address the district-approved crowdfunding, that's like GoFundMe accounts, and memorials on school facilities and grounds. Crowdfunding is defined as raising money through online platforms, excluding district-initiated social media campaigns. Any donations or gifts received through crowdfunding or otherwise become district property, and the board retains discretion over their use. So the MSBA is updating this policy to address those crowdsourced funding sources and incorporate the content of policy FFA, memorials on facilities and grounds. So we are recommending that the district accept this policy. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. For policy ILA, I know that the things that have been struck out in relation to test security training, test coordination roles, will that be replaced or put somewhere else? Because it seems like it give a lot of detail on what needs to happen with test security and other things. So how do we still continue to have that information for compliance to that process, even though it may be eliminated from the policy? Because is it being recommended to strike all of that out, or how do we? Go ahead.
So basically what they're saying is that we'll have to refer to the testing manual. And so in the testing manual, it lists out all of those items. And so instead of it in the original policy where they listed in the policy, MSBA is recommending that we refer to the testing manuals that are on DESE or the testing platform that we're using, because those manuals are constantly updated. Just the language have changed, but it's still the same.
Okay, so it's gonna go over all the coordinator role and all the security.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Are there Any other questions?
Madam Chair, I have a question. Okay. I don't know who the question is for. With policy JEC-1, what's the timeline for implementing adult education programs in the district?
Greetings, Riverview Garden School Board of Education. We have had talks of an adult education program in the past. One of the first steps was to bring our Success Academy in-house, or our alternative education in-house. So with it being in-house in one space, we can now open the option for adult education. There is a plan written that was written about 3 years ago, and a rationale. So right now we're gathering a team together to make sure that we have updated everything so we can bring a really good solid plan back to the Board of Education for review.
So are we looking at, I don't think they call it GED anymore. I think, is it high set?
It's high
So
set.
we're looking at a program like that for the district?
Yes,
That
and
would be-
we're hoping for a free program. The programs that we've looked at in the past have been free. The only thing that we would pay for is pretty much our building and then safety and security.
That would be great if we had that in the district.
Thank you.
That was, Madam Chair, that was sort of the question that I was going to ask, but outside of the high set, I believe that the age someone can stay in school is to the age of 21, so that would not be necessarily affected by this. Am I thinking right, or would?
No, no, this would be a totally different adult education program.
Like 22 and up or something like that?
Yes,
Okay,
so
I just wanted to clarify.
outside of the high school age.
Okay.
And then also, the program would lead us to be able to do programs like English as a second language and other expansions for our community.
Wonderful, okay, I got you.
Thank you, Ms. Liddell. Ms. Williams, you may as well stay there because you have the next item, the Missouri School Board Association Full Maintenance Service Agreement. Ms. Williams?
Good evening again. The full maintenance service agreement with the Missouri School Board Association is being presented tonight. The MSBA provides district policy and procedure manual maintenance on a continuous basis. So this agreement was previously reviewed by legal counsel. It has a budget impact of $4,156, and the service agreement is for 1 year. So we are asking that the district approves the MSBA agreement in the amount of $4,156. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Our next item up for discussion is guidelines for program evaluation. Making this presentation is Tiffany Buchanan, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and this is in alignment with Policy IM, Evaluation of Instructional Programs. Ms. Buchanan?
Good evening, board members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. This evening, I present to you updates to the guidelines for program evaluations. The purpose of the program evaluation process is to examine the efficiency and effectiveness of existing programs and services for students to ensure continued improvement. This process ensures the district's compliance with board-adopted policy IM, evaluation of instructional programs. The program evaluation specifically form pages 4 and 5, and the PowerPoint template, which is on page 6, will be used to analyze data and determine the effectiveness of district programs and services towards increasing district and school performance. The updates include the alignment of programs listed in the program evaluation guide, along with the department responsible for presenting to policy IM, which is on pages 7 and 8. At this time, it is recommended that the school board approves the 24-25 updated program evaluation as presented at the next board meeting. What questions do you have?
Thank you, Ms. Buchanan. Dr. Coleman, this concludes the items for discussion.
At this time, we can't hear you, Dr. Coleman. I'm sorry. Because I lost my spot here.
Item 10, items for action.
Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all can hear me. And so at this time, may I have a motion to approve the budget revision as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions, any discussion? It's been moved by Dr. Von Elliott and second by Ms. Williams to approve the budget revision. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion passed. At this time, we can call for our adjournment. It's only 8:53.
So moved.
Madam Chair, I second.
It's been moved by Dr. Von Elliott and second by Ms. Marrella. We adjourn. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful evening.
Hi, Reggie. Okay, I'm not trying to be funny. Do any of you, when you try to punch over here to bring the stuff up, it sometimes goes back up.
Regional director.
When you click,
Whenever you click on, see the